Yes, Anthony Horowitz. Alex Rider. People love Alex Rider. And he's back in the world. What number is this? 14?
This is the 14th in the series. It's extraordinary to think about. I actually have now equalled the record of a great hero of mine who created a slightly more successful spy by the name of James Bond. 14 James Bond novels. Now there are 14 Alexes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you... Because obviously they've been going for 20 years. Alex Rider... Oh, how old is Alex Rider now?
Well, the funny thing is that in 20 years I've managed to get very, very old indeed. While he has aged just 2 years, he's now 16, 14 to 16. He has saved the world that many times.
How do you pace him? How did you make him 2 years older?
Well, it was a decision right at the very beginning. You know, Harry Potter, of course, in every book aged a whole year. But I decided when I wrote the very first one that it would just be a few months each time. His birthday, he shares it with my son. It's, I think, January the 13th is his birthday. Well, I have two sons. I can't remember now which birthday I actually gave it to him. But then every time I went back to it, I just thought to myself, well, maybe, 6 weeks have passed or 7 weeks. And one thing that was always tricky was that Alex is off saving the world in one, all over the place, whether it's America, outer space, the Caribbean or whatever. And he has to do it during half term. It's always half term or the holidays. He's always missing school as well, a few days, and he's trying to catch up desperately with his GCSEs.
We begin that with he's doing his mocks. But so Nightshade Revenge, if people didn't read Nightshade, explain what Nightshade is.
Well, Nightshade was an idea I had a couple of years ago, and it was the last of the Alex Rider books, or the one before the last, I should say. And it was an idea of this organisation who have kidnapped a great number of young children at the age of 4 or 5, and have then indoctrinated them and brought them up to become assassins, terrorists, killers, whatever, in their control, even with implants in their heads, so they get messages whispered to them sort of in their brains every single day. It's rather a horrible idea, really.
Yes.
Even though I hope that the book is fun and just adventurous, we try not to get too close to any sort of reality. These books are meant to be escapist.
Yeah.
And so this organisation has these young people who are now all sort of Alex's age and are for hire around the world. And Alex got sucked into their sort of orbit in Nightshade with a plot, I think, to blow up part of London or something. And he, of course, he defeated them. He defeated them, and they went quiet. But then I had the idea, because everyone had liked that organisation so much, which is after Scorpio, the other evil organisation. Yeah. I spent my life inventing evil organisations, and then so I brought them back for Nightshade Revenge, which does begin exactly with that, with their plan to get revenge on Alex for having defeated them the first time round.
And it involves this gaming system and kind of VR headsets and stuff. And Anthony, you're of an age. I mean, do you play gaming? Are you a gamer?
I am not a gamer. It's one of the great sadnesses of my life, and I wish I was. I have tried and tried to find... I remember playing Myst back in the day. That sort of absorbed. Do you remember that one? Which sort of weird, sort of secret passages?
Over my head.
Oh, well, you're not a gamer yourself then.
No. But again, I watch people game, and I'm like you. I kind of think, I wish I could get into that, because it does look amazing. It looks so fun.
And the graphics are unbelievable now. I mean, I was looking at one just the other day. Someone recommended a game called Stray, which is about a cat. And the cat in this game is indistinguishable from a real cat, except for the fact that it looks at you and smiles and sort of does things like that.
Talks.
But it is incredible. Yes, and talks. No, it is a proper cat. But the artwork is so beautiful in these games. But I have tried to play them, and I just get bored, because what they don't have is story. And I'm very interested in the fact that, people like me are inventing stories. There are geniuses outside there creating the technology of these games, but there are very few occasions, I think, where the two have come together and actually created a game which also tells a wonderful story that absorbs you. At the end of the day, it is a digital choice. That is what it's all about. It's binary. So you're pressing your left thumb or your right thumb, and you're doing amazing things and having amazing adventures. But what is missing is that emotional depth which you get in books. So it's sort of sad. I've tried to do it. It would be nice to have that as a contact with kids. But as you rightly say in the new book, I have gone in for this world, not so much of gaming exactly, as this thing called augmented reality, which is coming our way, and it's sort of going to be the next huge thing.
And I mean, that does sound amazing when they put those headsets on and they can see things.
Yeah, augmented reality is
Does
about
that
sort
happen?
of...
Is that in the world already?
It's exactly what you said. It is... There are... games. I mean, Pokemon is actually the most famous example of augmented reality, where people went around the place with their phones, looking on the screen, and you would see furry creatures sitting in the road. I did it in Richmond quite recently when I was writing this book. I just downloaded it and did it. I can't tell you how thrilling it was to see a little pink fluffy thing outside the Odeon in Richmond. There it was, and I saw it on my phone. But augmented reality does much more than that. It's sort of, the idea is that you could be a surgeon performing an operation with this headset on, and you'd be given sort of x-rays of what's happening inside the body and advice and pointers and all the rest of it. Or if you were seeing different places in the world, you could put it on and see, you could see an ancient building and then see pictures of it, how it really was hundreds of years ago and all the information about it. And gaming too. You could go to, in the book there is a sort of a gaming arena where, people play, but the sort of the future dream is that you could have a football or a football match or something without any players actually there, or an orchestra playing music, and they wouldn't be there. I guess ABBA in London is a little bit like that already.
Yeah.
So it's sort of about technology, and Alex Rider has always specialised in the technology of not sort of a year from now, but a couple of days from now.
And tell me that, because there is real danger in this book. The stakes are very high, and yet it is aimed at younger readers. I like the way Alex Rider swears, but you just say he swore at them. There's no actual swear words. How do you pitch it? How do you kind of go, okay, this is scary enough, not scary enough?
Well, as for the swear words first, it's a bit like talking to you now, where your producer came to me and said, do you remember it's live radio? In that room also I have my editor who says, do you remember it's young adult fiction? Let's not have any of these, asterisked out words. And incidentally, I don't like bad language, so I'm very happy to avoid it in the books. And I don't, for that matter, use sort of modern slang, because if the books have been going for 20 years, so if I say something is cool or wicked, I'm going to really be showing my age immediately. So as to the sort of, what was your other part of the question, was sort of levels of violence and action, all that sort of stuff.
The danger, yeah.
And danger. Well, I think it's interesting, because what's more difficult is that there is now a whole generation of people who have grown up, boys and girls, who were 8 and 9 and 10 years old when they read Stormbreaker. They're now sort of in their 20s and 30s, and I meet so many of them who still buy these books because it reminds them of the books they used to enjoy, and the books have become more adult. I have to cater to them to a certain extent, but at the same time, there are lots of schools still reading Stormbreaker, and there are lots of 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds. So what I do is I'm just interested in excitement and adventure and danger. Of course, if somebody is Alex gets up into all sorts of sort of scrapes in this thing, chased all over the world, in America, the south of France, and in London. And the secret, I think, is to make the danger real, but not to make the violence too graphic. I mean, it's a question of that. So you don't get sort of a lot of bloodshed and sort of horror and unpleasantness. Enough of that in the world already. But you do get the excitement and the adventure.
And I was going to talk about the TV series, but Ian in Walsall's been in touch, and he's got a question for you. What are your memories of making Crime Traveller, 1997 BBC drama? I thought it was amazing, and it still stands up now. My theory is that it suffered from being made just before the BBC switched to making everything widescreen. Discuss.
It had nothing to do with that. Thank you, Ian, for that. And for remembering Crime Traveller, one of the ones that got away, I suppose. The idea of it, you won't know it, Graham. I think it was a great idea. It's a detective who can solve crimes by travelling in time, but only one day, maximum, so he can go back to just before the crime is committed and therefore solve it. But that's the first paradox of time, because why does he travel back in time? Because somebody's been murdered. But if they hadn't been murdered, he wouldn't have travelled back in time. Get it?
Yes.
And it was all playing with paradoxes about crime travel. And it was a wonderful show. I loved it. We did 8 episodes. And then what happened, and this happens often in television, in this country and elsewhere, the head of BBC Drama left and somebody else came in. And in between, there's a hiatus, there's a silence.
Yes.
And in those months, it fell into the hole for a second season and was not recommissioned. I'd have loved to have done it again. I had lots more stories. And it was one of those ideas that just could have run and run, but sadly didn't.
Well, good. Ian's reminded you of it.
Thank you, Ian, for that.
You'll be in a meeting tomorrow pitching it. Yeah. I've got something for you. Because Amazon, big fans of Alex Rider.
Indeed so. They've done so far 2 seasons of Alex Rider, with Otto Farrant playing the lead. Quite an older Alex. You were talking at the beginning of this chat about the age of Alex. And it was interesting that we cast a 23-year-old in the part, and it made no real difference to the show. It's slightly aged. It made it slightly more family friendly rather than just for younger kids. And it's done extremely well. The first 2 seasons were Point Blank, and that was followed by Eagle Strike. I did not write the scripts. That was done by a writer called Guy Burt, who did a fantastic job. Rather better, I have to say, than the screenwriter of Stormbreaker, the movie. That was me, incidentally. Oh, okay. I was very happy to hand the baton over to him. He did a great job. And we have a 3rd season that everybody on X is asking me, when is the next season going to happen? It is early next year. I don't know. That's one of the troubles.
But it's in the can.
Oh, it's all filmed, and I think it is the best of the 3. It's Scorpia, one of my favourite of the books, number 5 in the series. Quite a dark book. It's been brilliantly directed and performed. The director has just moved on. Rebecca has just done Moonflower Murders with us. which is great to sort of, the same sort of team coming on to do that. And I can't wait for people to see it. It's really good, with a wonderful climax down in Bath, where we were filming last year.
And when you are, because you've got so many books to choose from, how do they choose? How do they decide, right, let's do Scorpio for season 3?
Well, sort of they is me. I mean, it's me.
Oh, so you decide.
I'm very involved in the production.
Oh, great. Okay.
No, I mean, in terms of, it's difficult these days in television because you are working for people you never meet anymore. In the good old days, I knew everybody in the BBC, ITV, or I could knock on the doors. Now it's people in America, it's algorithms. You never get told how many people are watching, although we do know that it was a success for Amazon. But actually it starts with Jill Green, who is my wife and the producer of the show, and with Guy Burt, who is the writer, and me sitting down and saying, which book would we like to do? And as to whether there will be a 4th or 5th season, before you ask, we don't know. We don't know yet. I mean, I have hopes because this show is so well done. And but again, working for a distant corporation, you just don't know until you're told.
Yeah, but also it must be doing well, or there wouldn't be a season 3.
That is for sure.
They're not.
These days, getting even 3 seasons on a big platform is really a big sign of success.
No,
yes.
Absolutely, and also it's clever that you've picked Otto because he won't age out.
Yes, I don't know about that actually. I mean, I don't know if Otto would want to do any more. He's done 3, which is great.
Well, I guess when he's in his 40s,
one of the great things is,
like
like Bond, like Doctor Who, it's always very easy to sort of, introduce someone new to the part. If that happens, I don't know. It's all speculative. I haven't heard.
And how do you balance your writing life between young adult and adult?
I think I'm moving more and more into adult books and doing fewer young adult books than I used to. I'm not quite sure. I think it's partly to do with my age, to be honest with you. But as a writer for young people, it's one area in which every single time you write a new book, you are further away from your audience because they're staying 12, 13 and you're going sort of 50, 60 onwards.
And is it because your own kids are aging out?
All my own kids are sort of both adults, and so therefore I had my first grandchild turn up. So,
oh, wow.
But that's no good yet because he can't read. He sits there and he gurgles. He's no use to me at all.
Picture books. Anthony Horowitz, picture books.
Well, not even those yet. He doesn't quite know where he is in the world. But I suppose 10 years from now, maybe I could do another set of kids' books for him. But no, it is that sort of aging process. And the fact that I so love writing murder mystery, I'm having a lot of fun doing that.
You're so good at it. Anthony Horowitz, Alex Rider, Nightshade Revenge. Nightshade Revenge is out in hardback now. Thank you so much for coming in to see us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.